Hello, everybody. My name is Dave, and this is my YouTube channel where I'm going to be reviewing mostly skateboard shoes, maybe some other skateboard products eventually, but mostly shoes for now, just because shoes are really my favorite thing about skateboarding, I guess you could say. I've been skateboarding for about 20 years now, and I've bought quite a few pairs of shoes, so I would just like to, share some of the knowledge I've gained along the way, and my opinions on certain shoes, so that maybe when you're going out to buy a pair of shoes, whether you've been skating, for as long as me, or you've just got into skateboarding, it'll just help, maybe save a bit of money, because shoes are really I want to say a trial and error thing. For everybody's different, everybody skates different and has their own preferences and stuff, but shoes can be a very particular part of your kit, so to speak. So yeah, I just thought I would share some reviews on some shoes, and hopefully you guys find them helpful. So, the first shoe that I'm going to be reviewing is none other than the Nike SB Blazer Mid, which has been around for quite a long time now. I think Nike's been in skateboarding for 20 years now, I think, making skateboard shoes, and the Blazer mid-top and the low-top have been part of their lineup for quite a long time, and it's quite a simple but great looking shoe. And I think what makes it good is the basicness of the shoe. And I'm going to be talking about what I think of it. So here it goes. Basically, if I just start with the materials here, it's mostly made from suede, the upper. There's a little bit of leather. You got a leather swoosh and a leather back on the heel right here with some Nike branding on it. And you have a mesh tongue. I think it's fully mesh. So that's, as you can see, it being like a solid suede shoe, the mesh here is kind of the only breathability of the shoe. Like, you have no vent holes in the shoe at all, really. So if you tend to sweat a lot, these shoes might be a little bit hot just because of the material, obviously, right? And the ventilation. There's only this mesh tongue, but it still does provide decent breathability, I would say. Your feet are gonna sweat when you skate no matter what. I don't think you should be really too concerned about, unless your feet overheat and really hot summer days, but you just gotta deal with it, I guess. So yeah, this is the lacing system of the shoe. Pretty standard all the way up to the top of the shoe. It's pretty narrow, which makes for a good snug fit. Like, the laces really bring in the suede panels around your foot to make a nice snug fit. To get it dialed in to where you want it, basically, can be a little bit finicky sometimes, because some days, depending on your feet, what condition they're in, right? If you've been skating a lot and stuff, you might want them a bit looser. Or, if you haven't skated in a little bit, you might tie them up a little bit tighter. I like to tie mine all the way up to the top, pretty much. I think I leave one eyelet hole here empty, but for the most part, it snugs up pretty good to your feet. And if you go all the way up, that's just maximum snugness, I guess. And it being a mid-top, obviously, it gets right around your ankle. And provides a pretty secure fit. Your heel's not really coming off too much, I found, with these shoes. There's a little bit of lift in the arch area, but I'll get into that later. But yeah, I mean, it keeps your foot pretty snug. I mean, they're on the heel here, you can see the cushioning, you know, and with the tongue, the tongue's fairly thin. It has a bit of cushion, which is nice. Actually, I find it's just like a good amount of cushioning. Same with the, with around the heel here. Like, obviously there's a little bit of an indent there to snug. It's hard to see it in here, but that indent in there will kind of snug your foot, your heel in the shoe, and then you have this padding here, which is good for protection. So keeps your foot locked in and adds for a little bit of protection. So yeah, and then basically, I mean, the shape of this shoe is also pretty standard, pretty basic. It has, I would say it's kind of a narrow shape, because recently, something I did that was pretty cool is I went to a New Balance store. I was buying a pair of non-skate shoes, but they asked me if I wanted to measure my foot with their 3D scanner so I could see what my foot width was and what my arch was like and stuff. And so it was really interesting to see, because I found out I had a medium width foot and that my arch was kind of low, obviously probably from skateboarding. You know, your arches get worn out probably over time, but my arches were kind of low, and I have a medium width foot, so my foot size is actually an 8.5. These shoes are a 9. So what I found interesting was I usually go up half a size in Nikes because they're a little bit narrow, and I've been doing that for every pair of Nikes that I've ever bought, and that's because I think they're a narrow shoe. So me being an 8.5, going up half a size, my foot feels a lot more comfortable. And the general rule is, and this may not apply to skateboarders just because we tend to be very picky with our shoes and our shoe size. From the end of your longest toe, which for me is my big toe, that's the longest toe I have. Some people it's their middle toe, but when you put your foot in the shoe, your toe should be about a finger width from the end of the shoe. That's how you should fit your shoes. So most skateboarders will tend to buy shoes that our foot is like at the end, which can be a very uncomfortable break-in period, but then, you know, when you break the shoes in, they feel great to skate in because they seem to be more responsive because your foot's like at the end of the shoe. But what I've found, especially with Nikes, is it being more of a narrow shoe, it actually doesn't affect my flick or anything that much. It actually makes it better, I think, that, you know, I go up a half a size and I'm able to get a better, it's more comfortable, I would say. And I do get better response from the shoe because my foot's not cramped up in the shoe, right? So maybe when you're going to try on shoes and, you know, you're like unsure of where the shoe should be, you know, like in regards to how it fits, I would say that's a pretty good general rule of thumb, you know, is that finger width when you put your foot. So my big toe would probably be around here somewhere, and if I have that finger width, which is about 3/8 or half an inch, that'll give my foot room to spread when I'm, you know, digging into the board, or I'm bending my foot like that. My toes are gonna have a bit more room to spread, which, you know, in theory should make for a better response and a, you know, more comfortable when I'm skating. The shape also, you have the round toe box here. I mean, it's not super pointy, which is nice, but it's also not super square. It's kind of in the middle, you know. It's like a nice shape. So you can see there the toe box. And then the stitching is pretty good as well. Like, you know, this toe box design, I find a lot of skateboarders like this toe box design just because of how simple it is and it looks good when you're looking down on your feet. It's pretty much like it's a classic tennis shoe toe box design, I would say. You know, like a lot of similar tennis shoes have this toe box design, and it's just clean. It looks good. It doesn't rip that, like, you know, you have this thick suede, so you're not really going to rip through any stitching. You'll just wear through the suede and obviously the rubber. So it's also like kind of narrow, but once again, like I said, I went up half a size, so it fits my foot pretty good, I would say. So one thing I think that's important, aside from getting your foot measured and scanned, is like finding a shoe shape that, you know, you're comfortable in, that fits your foot really well. And as you can see, like, this shape's pretty standard. It's pretty basic, and I think it fits a lot of foot shapes probably fairly well, which is why it's such a popular shoe, you know, and it's been around for so long. And aside from that, let's say the next thing we'll get into is the outsole. So the outsole, and then actually maybe we'll do the insole first, because the outsole is the very bottom. That'll be the last thing of the shoe, but it's kind of like a combination. So yeah, so this is the insole of the shoe, and basically, I mean, it's pretty flat. You can see there's not much to this insole. You have you know, this foam material, which is actually, I don't know if it's memory foam or not, but it seems to have a bit of stiffness to it, which I'm going to talk about later in combination with the outsole, how that, you know, the stiffness of this and the stiffness of your outsole is basically going to determine the stiffness of your shoe. But as you can see from the insole here, it's pretty flat. You have the Nike Zoom Air cushion in the heel, which I've never blown one of these things out, so it must be Nike's secret. Something Nike's got it in their secret sauce here. They have this, what it looks like to be almost like some type of foam in there, something that seems to offer quite a bit of impact protection. I mean, it's not much, but it's something. And the shoe, or the insole, sorry, is fairly flat, not a lot of arch support. Now, one thing I'm going to say, which might be contradictory to what most people would think, is, you know, when you're skateboarding, you want a lot of arch support in your shoe. However, when you bend down to do a trick and you're sort of doing a squatting, it's almost like a squat motion. And when people squat, they want their feet to be completely flat. So most people who squat, they squat in flat shoes, like there's special shoes for squatting. People squat in Chuck Taylors, or, you know, Air Jordans, like Air Jordan 1s that are super flat. Basically, I find, in my opinion, that when I've skated a shoe that has a lot of arch support, it kind of throws off my balance. And this would make sense because when your arch is supported, sure, you have arch support, But when you're bending down to do a trick, that arch support that's lifting your heel up is actually sending you forward, that's why people don't want arch support when they're squatting and lifting weights, because it throws off their balance. So your feet aren't, directly planted flat on the ground. And that's one thing I noticed from skating Vans to skating these is Vans has an insole that's like super, I'm going to do a Vans review eventually, but they have an insole that's has a huge arch in it and a very, very thick heel. And what I found with this shoe, it having the flat insole, is I actually have very good balance on the board, and I have a great flick, and I seem to be able to dig my feet into the board. It just feels better because my feet are flat on the board. Like I can feel the concave of the board better, and which in turn gives me like a better flick. So this doesn't actually surprise me that, although there is support, like you have the foam material to support your foot and everything, I mean, it's probably not going to be the best when you primo or something like that, but I mean, it's a trade-off. You have a really great board feel and really good flick, and you're able to have really good balance because the sole is flat. And that's where the outsole comes in as well, right? So after you throw that, and the stiffness of this, which is obviously it's pretty flimsy. This is pretty flimsy. When they're put together, you still have a pretty flimsy shoe. So the stiffness of the insole, the stiffness of the outsole, I mean, that's gonna determine like the flexibility of the shoe, right? So that being said about the insole, if we look at the outsole is obviously it's flat, and you have a vulcanized outsole, which is great for board feel. Vulcanized soles are really flat and soft. So, they great flick, great board feel. Do they last as long as the cup sole? No. But this particular vulcanized outsole that Nike has made, I mean, I've only skated these like 4 times. So like that wear's actually pretty good because I do a lot of kick flips and 3 flips and stuff. So the wear on my left foot, I'm regular footed, it's pretty good. I mean, if I were to put it up to another shoe, you could see the difference that, in the flick and the wear. This is actually pretty good for 4 sessions, that it hasn't, created more of a dent in the rubber. And obviously the suede's holding up pretty good too, but this outsole that Nike designed and this tread pattern is really durable for a Vulc outsole. Like it holds up for a really long time. It's the rubber compound, whatever they've done here at Nike, I don't think that they want to, give this up, because it's like, and it's not indestructible, obviously, but it lasts a hell of a long time. Like a lot of people who skate these know that it's hard to wear through this tread pattern because of the rubber compound, right? And the design, I guess. But like the design of the tread pattern allows for a lot of flexibility, and board feel, yet you don't wear through it that fast. Like, you could skate these, like I said before, I skated these for a month, the first pair that I had, and I didn't wear through this bottom, and this held up extremely well. Like there was, a lot of shoes, you'll see the rubber will get down to like, the very thinnest part, and these don't seem to do that. So I guess congrats to Nike for making like a friggin' awesome outsole, a Vulc outsole, because most skate shoes don't accomplish that unless it's a cup sole. and the rubber compound is obviously a bit stiffer and it's a bit harder. So yeah, basically to conclude, the shoe is like 115 bucks Canadian, which I think makes it around, I don't know what the exchange rate is right now, but 90 bucks American, let's say. I think it's totally worth the price. Like it looks great, it skates great, and the durability of the shoe is great for a vulcanized shoe. So I am gonna be skating these more than one pair. Obviously, this is my second pair, but I'll continue to buy these just because of the the durability and the longevity of the shoe itself, and the things you get out of it. Now that those are the upsides to it, right? Just around $100 for a skate shoe these days is pretty standard. But are you gonna get 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks out of it for $100? Probably not. So that's an upside to it. But obviously the downside is depending on what type of skating you're doing. Like like I said, there's a lot of board feel, but that comes with a cost, like you're gonna feel everything, meaning like if you primo or if you're jumping down stuff, that it's gonna be a little bit harder on your feet. But I mean, that's the trade-off for good board feel and for a vulcanized shoe too, really. So I would say if you want to try them out, I highly recommend them because it's a great shoe overall. And that pretty much concludes my review of the Nike SB Blazer Mid. I hope you enjoyed the review, and if you want to subscribe and like my channel, then you will hopefully get some more good reviews in the future.